3, 2, 1. What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to a brand new episode of Sports Extra. I hope everyone listening, tuning in right now is getting ready because we have a full hour to be talking about the Missouri Valley Conference Tournament. As always, I'm Coby Clark. Man, I don't even need to introduce you. I'm going to let you do it yourself.
Joseph the Lawnmower.
Joseph the Lawnmower, how are you today, man? How is everything going on in Joe world?
You know, my back isn't really, we not friends right now. We not on a good terms. But, luckily my legs, we're very, very passionate in our relationship. Gym and all that stuff, and sleep a little funny. That's just gonna incapacitate me sometimes. But luckily me and my legs have a good relationship, so they got me here today. But in general, doing pretty good. Have a lot of work to do. Excited for obviously later this week going down to St. Louis with my man, and we're gonna get some games done together. So
Absolutely.
I'm excited.
Yeah, a lot of traveling for me specifically and our own boss, Rich Green, as we just came back from a 4-day stay in NYC, downtown on Times Square in New York City for the IBS Awards ceremony. A lot of great experiences, very knowledgeable people there that I learned a lot from. I mean, the memories, they just can't go without said.
You can't put a price tag on that type of experience.
I promise you.
We're lucky that, you're back with us now,
of course,
and everything. Hopefully you guys, had a fantastic time. Glad that you're here, safe as always.
Hey,
and
man.
Stuff. But I'm going to need you to, make sure you get a good night's sleep, drink water, hydrate and stuff. Yeah. Because we're going to be back on the grind Thursday, Coby.
I know we are, man. Thursday morning. Me and Joe and Rich are heading out 7:30 a.m. on the dot, heading to St. Louis, Missouri. The State Farm Arch Madness Tournament coming our way, man. And that is exactly what we have, a whole hour to fill you guys in on anything that you may not know, anything that you might have missed. I mean, it's just going to be a good time. Let's get it all started. Absolutely. I mean, the Missouri Valley Conference Tournament will be kicked off Thursday, March 2nd. And, Joe, the championship game will be played March 5th on Sunday, 1 p.m. When I say all these, this is 1 p.m. Central Time in St. Louis. Obviously, they're an hour back, so it'll be 2 p.m. Eastern for you guys here in Terre Haute. 12 teams exactly are going for this one Valley Championship to lock up their spot in the March Madness Tournament. I mean, that would be insane to see Indiana State make that one. It's been a minute. I'd love to see them go there once again, but the unfortunate side of things, Joe, before we get into anything, MVC conference tournament related, I mean, we just got to talk about how ISU losing back-to-back games to end their regular season after going on a 7 or 8 game winning streak. I mean, it's definitely depleting. Unfortunately, I get that. But, I mean, from when I was talking to Coach Schertz through the interview process this morning, he seems to have high hopes for this Sycamore squad.
Yeah, and I really can understand why, but at the same time, it really, for me, as just, an enjoyer of ISU basketball, kind of, let the really, really sour taste in my mouth to end out the regular season. And I feel like that's the way for a lot of ISU fans. 2 back-to-back losses, one to a team you 100% should have beat. One, I understand if we lose, but losing in the type of fashion that they did, definitely tough. Again, with that, Belmont matchup, that was one that was big for me personally.
I want to say I probably jinxed them because I got a text from my brother at halftime seeing the lead. I'm like, in all caps,
it's over.
We are winning the Valley. And, an hour or two passes. I check my phone. Whoops.
When are we going to learn, man? It's the commentators.
We're never going to learn.
Yeah, it's the commentators' curse. Each time we were saying that, right before they went on the 5-game losing streak in the middle of the regular season. They're going to win the Valley, number 1 in the Missouri Valley Conference. 5-game losing streak, back to back.
Joe, I think it's just best to be said. We should just bite our tongues and
it really should. But it's no fun to bite our tongues. That's why we're here on radio. You know what I mean?
Facts.
But yeah, it's really really tough. But again, with ISU in that Belmont matchup, it was very, very. It was a game to look at for me personally because obviously Belmont's going to be one of those top, 4 or 5 teams of the Missouri Valley Conference that really have, the highest chance to, really win the whole thing. So, and I don't believe before this we actually matched up with Belmont.
We did not.
So this was our first meeting the entire season.
Yes.
So, this is a conference opponent. First time we're meeting them. One of the better teams in our conference. This was going to be a big game for me, especially when in the next week, pretty much, it was going to be straight to Valley play.
And to bounce off of you, I mean, just exactly what you just said. Such an important game. I mean, implications were high.
Yeah.
Because pretty much if Indiana State were to have won that game last Wednesday against the Bruins, they would have probably got that top 4 seed, and we wouldn't be leaving Thursday. We'd be leaving Friday.
Exactly.
But here we are now, an unfortunate turn of events. But continue, please.
Yeah, and you pretty much hit the nail on the head there. Again, just, Belmont's one of those teams where they're really, really well coached, really, really good basketball culture in general in the university. Even their women's squad is just fantastic. This is just another matchup with a really, really well coached team that has culture, and really these are the matchups that I think are like going to be the biggest, especially once you get into, the play that we're getting into this week. It's just going to be a matchup where we're going to see a lot of really, really well-coached, well-cultured teams that are experienced, have guys that know the program, seen this type of environment, have these expectations, and that's the biggest thing. Before in this type of environment, when you're Indiana State, that's second-year head coach and pretty much entirely new squad. A lot of these guys ain't been here more than a year or two, maybe
a cup of coffee, I guess you could say.
Exactly. So it's really night and day in that time sense. So we need to learn how to, if we really want to win this season, we really, really need to know how to beat teams like the Belmont. But unfortunately, we fall 1 point short.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely hurts to see the way they ended the season because when you really look back at it, this season is just memorable, and that's probably the one word to really describe everything going on. And the fact is, with everything going into it, year one of Coach Schertz didn't end the way. I mean, he even mentioned it. It did not go a great way. It didn't end the way he wanted it, losing to Illinois State last year. And now he gets his chance to run it back year 2 in the Valley.
100%.
A lot of people would probably have to go ahead and say, man, looking back at it at the beginning of the year, you didn't have a lot of high hopes. And I get that. Not many people do. But the fact is, when you get to that, nice winning streak and, just a solid run in the conference, then you hit that 5-game losing streak, which then people are saying, oh, I called it, and then all of a sudden, boom, bang, 7-game win streak, 8-game win streak. But the fact of the matter is, losing 2 games does hurt this team. And whether you want to hear it or not, it's going to have to play a huge factor because a lot of these teams, the whole Valley, really, not good on the road.
Yeah, and that's
home
what's
games
crazy.
Matter.
That's what's crazy because I believe, I believe first who is Bradley in our conference and Indiana State, the difference between conference games and wins is between 2 and 3 wins. You know what I mean? And that we pretty much had conference play throughout the entire, season. So that's what's crazy about this. It really does feel like, when you look at the top 5 seeds in the Missouri Valley Conference, it's just kind of like the Wild West because I can see each one of those teams from, Bradley to Indiana State winning the entire thing, them even dominating the entire thing without question. And I can see each one of them losing in the first game that they play. Each one of them. So it's so crazy. But I think that's the thing with the Missouri Valley Conference. It's just such a conference full of just shooting. It's, really, really dependent on that 3-point shot. When you look at from top to bottom, whether, the 1 through 5 can defend the other teams 1 through 5 on the starting lineup on a consistent basis and make sure that they don't find their shot. But it just feels like whenever there's a team that's hot, it's really just who can really get the 3-point shot to fall. You don't see a whole lot of, kind of grind out games in the Missouri Valley Conference this year. It's just a lot of shooting. So it's just whoever can find their shot first and whoever can defend the opponent's shot first is really, comes down to the winner. And again, 1 through 5 is all good at making shots and making other people miss. So, it's just kind of, hands in your air sometimes. It's just like literally there's 1,000 different scenarios that this can go in.
There's a lot of good players in the Valley.
Yeah.
There's a lot of great coaches.
There is.
But I don't think no one man is more deserving of of the year in the Valley than Coach Schertz.
Thank you. We're definitely not biased, but
We're not biased. I mean, you can see it from an outsider's perspective.
For sure.
I can absolutely just seeing the turnaround from year 1 to year 2. I mean, he gets this team back rolling. He gets, the Holman Center. I have never seen the Holman Center that packed since this year, and it's all due in part to the fantastic play on the floor, the coaching staff. Great job by everyone, including the Forest. Shout out my Forest gang.
I mean, like, when you think of what he's done in such a little amount of time, just totally just pivoting this whole program into a direction where Indiana State should realistically be on a very consistent basis, where Indiana State should have been for the last decade plus.
Decade plus is agreeable to say.
So I'm just saying, like, Indiana State is just Indiana in general, and Indiana State specifically is just home to basketball. Basketball is in Indiana's DNA.
Absolutely.
So there's no reason that the State School of Indiana should, be, sometimes good, sometimes bad, sometimes, normally just kind of mediocrity.
Yep.
That is definitely not something that Indiana State needs to be in whatsoever. And I believe that, what Coach has done in his little time, less than, I think a little bit over 2 years now.
Yeah.
Entering, Indiana State, what he's done, fantastic job, just beautiful. You don't see that often at all in college basketball. Just a person comes in, program, whole different direction.
I mean, I just think everyone really, including the players who are already here, names such as Cooper Neese, Cam Henry.
Yes, that's true.
Those two really resonate well with Sycamores in the last couple of years. And the fact that none of them wanted to leave, they chose to stay here. They really felt like Coach Schertz was the man to turn things around, and it has 110% proven to be right.
It really has. They know ball. Like,
Yep.
They know ball. They know what they're good at. They know their strengths. And, whenever you're a player in that type of environment, you really can, like, coaching just goes beyond, like, obviously an X's and O's standpoint. The personality is, 100% thing. And I think Josh is just one of, the best people that I've, ever got to, ask a question to, or, one of the best people that I've just seen interacting with players.
Down to earth, man.
He's super down to earth guy, very, very chill. Everything that I've heard from him, everything that other people speak highly of him. Everywhere I go, talking about him and stuff. It's just fantastic. And I think if you're playing that standpoint, all right, fantastic dude. Also plays to my strengths and like Indiana State's and my players' strengths.
Right.
Let's let it ride.
Absolutely. I mean, I want to go back to one thing you did mention though. It's when you mentioned how basketball here in the state of Indiana, we grow basketball here.
Exactly.
It's 110% a fact. I mean, from every level, high school, college, NBA, we're always very consistent, and we always have that on our back. That's what we're known for. We're not just known for cornfields.
Exactly.
So we're known
we kind of know for that too.
not just only.
Exactly. They're not mutually exclusive, but but yes, for sure. And that's I think that's beautiful. Again, I think Indiana State should always be in that type of when you think of Indiana basketball, it shouldn't just be Purdue and IU. It shouldn't be shout
out to them. Indiana has had 2 great games against Purdue.
Exactly.
Purdue's been number 1.
Shout out to them.
I mean, Indiana's ranked. The women's team for IU is doing great.
Exactly. That's true, too. Just fantastic basketball all around and stuff. As long as, Purdue is kind of on, keeps on getting whooped on, I'm happy with it.
Man, you got a problem with Purdue?
I have so many problems with Purdue. You know what I mean? But we ain't going to get into that.
We ain't going to get into that. That's more of an off-air thing.
But exactly. Sports Extra Uncut. Ladies and gentlemen,
always.
But yes.
Good plug.
So, just fantastic. When you mention, basketball in Indiana, it shouldn't just be Purdue. It shouldn't be IU. It shouldn't be just, maybe even Notre Dame. It should be, IU, Purdue, Notre Dame, and Indiana State.
Yes.
They should all be in the same breath. And the fact that we're not there is really a tragedy.
But I think we're close.
But we are close. We need to get there sooner rather than later, hopefully.
And I think that will be proven very, very
soon. Ooh, I love it.
Absolutely. Well, Joe, let's talk about it. I mean, we got 12 teams. All these teams, I mean, whether you want to look at it from, from the highest of highs of Bradley to the lowest of lows of Evansville, there is still, it's March. Well, it's not March yet, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
March, anything can happen. Miracles, they want to go dancing. Everyone wants to vie for that spot in the March Madness tournament.
Of course.
And, we're not a Power 5 school where you could be good enough to not win your conference and still make the tournament. You have to pretty much win this Valley Championship to succeed and get in to the tournament.
Yeah.
It's just how it is.
It is. And, just win. Right at this point, it don't matter what your record is. It don't matter who you lost to in the regular season. Like, that's what I love about the playoffs. Don't matter. You look at the person in front of you, and whoever wants it more, whoever's, wants their game to be, wants their game to be imprinted on that, court, it's whoever wants it more.
Yes.
Just go after it.
And I think, one thing like you just mentioned, I mean, 0-0. That's your record
0-0.
right now.
Exactly.
It doesn't matter anymore. What you see is what you get.
Mm-hmm.
You win, and you're in. You keep surviving until you get to Sunday's championship game.
Oh, I love college basketball, Coby.
It's so much fun.
Oh, my gosh.
I love being a part of this with you, man. This is awesome.
For sure.
Well, let's talk about it. The first round matchups. We're just going to go down the list, and then we're going to, stop and, pinpoint a few games. We're going to start with Indiana State and Evansville, but the remaining games that will happen on day one, which is Thursday, all times being Central. Number 8, the University of Northern Illinois will be taking on the number 9 seed Illinois State at 12 p.m. The number 5 seed Indiana State Sycamores will be taking on the number 12 seed Evansville Purple Aces at 2:30 p.m. The number 7 Murray State Racers versus the number 10 Valparaiso at 6 p.m. Number 6 Missouri State versus number 11 UIC at 8:30 p.m. That recaps right there all day one games. But it cannot go without mentioning the top 4 seeds getting a first round bye, which give them all credit. I mean, they've had a great year, all things considered. Bradley at 1, Drake 2, Southern Illinois rounding out 3, and then finally Belmont at 4. And you got to think, Belmont, if Indiana State wins against Evansville, which we'll talk about, they might be a little upset with everything that transpired just less than a week ago. They want to get that one back. They know they could beat this team. They just didn't close it out.
Yeah, I mean, like, that's what's cool about Indiana State, because they're kind of in a category where I feel like I don't think we've lost to any of the top 4. Except for maybe Bradley. I think
We lost to Drake.
We lost to. No, I'm not lost, but I mean, like, we totally won out. We haven't won against. I should say we haven't won against. So
we beat Drake.
We've won against Drake.
Yeah,
we won against Drake. We've won against Southern Illinois. Have we won against Bradley? I'm not sure if we won against Bradley.
I don't think so.
But it's besides Bradley, which is apparently untouchable to us, I believe Belmont included. I think we can beat pretty much anybody in the Missouri Valley Conference. Yep. Bradley's the only person that I'm really, really scared of for Indiana State, and I might take Bradley on. But, when it comes to, Belmont, I do believe that, players do want their revenge, and I believe revenge games are just some of the funnest basketball to watch. And why not a revenge game? Plus win or go home. Like, it's just fantastic atmosphere, fantastic story writing, in its fullest form. And I believe this is going to be a good matchup for Indiana State to see if they really bout a battle like that.
Absolutely. Joe, let's just get right into it. We'll talk about everything Indiana State related with their first round matchup against Evansville. For Indiana State, even though they have to play in the opening round, one thing I noted before, we had interviews this morning with, every head coach. This was their only day of media availability for me and others alike. So I, decided, what, I'll join the Zoom call and I'm going to ask a few questions to Coach Schertz of Indiana State. And then I also talked a little bit with Coach Ragland of Evansville, and then as well, finally recapping it with Coach Alexander of Belmont, just in case Indiana State moves on,
of course,
which we're all hoping for. I mean, both times Indiana State played against Evansville this season, very dominant displays of basketball. I mean, it was an 18-point game. Their second win when they defeated them 83-65, and then it was a 28-point win when they defeated them 91-63. And one of them, I guess you can say, it was at the very end of December, so it didn't matter as much. But the last time they matched up was the very beginning of this month, which is February. So, I mean, teams change, without a doubt, every day, every week. So you can't really expect the same team to come in. Even if we were to go on to play Belmont, you're not going to expect everything the same way. It's just a week ago. Not much is going to change besides everything. Everything will change. 100%.
And, I do believe that, especially when it comes to college basketball, how you come in isn't always how you go out. And, we might see, like, not total shifts, but, like, really, really detailed changes in philosophy and coaching philosophy. Once, because a lot of these, with college basketball, you don't really know what, true freshman is going to look like, on the basketball court, when they play their first conference game. We don't really know what they're going to look like when they play you specifically. So, that's the thing, because when it comes to college basketball, especially with conference play, the games are just going to get harder. Their teams are going to know you. They're going to know your tendencies a little bit more. They've seen you before. They've seen more of your film. They're just more familiar with your game. So it's about being able to, and this is largely on the coach, but, being able to, kind of counterattack and, checkmate, opponent. It's like really, really a game of chess when it comes to, games like this normally. So, again, I do think it's going to be one of those matchups where it's one of those things where, teams really evolve. I mean, just look like Indiana State. Indiana State wasn't seen that they saw, I think in the preseason poll, had us at like 7th or 8th in the Missouri Valley Conference and stuff. And, look at us now.
I mean, we were at highest the 3rd seed of the conference at one point.
I mean, it just, teams change. So I do think this is going to be very interesting to see what a lot of these guys can see, especially for Robbie specifically. Man. See what he can bring to the table.
His freshman, obviously first time in, getting a taste of the conference tournament. But, a couple of names that I'm about to mention, they have been here, done that. Cooper Neese, Cam Henry, those two just to go off of that. But, I mean, I think genuinely when I speak this, and I swear I'm not biased at all, I think Indiana State has the best starting five. I mean,
go crazy.
It's not just me saying that. It's the statistics saying that. The number
I'm
one
a math guy. Talk to me.
The number one offense in the Valley this year, the Indiana State Sycamores. See, I think I know what I'm saying when I say this.
Yes, sir. Yes,
they definitely have everything going for them. I mean, they have made 48% of their shots. 285 total three-pointers. They put up the most points at 24,000. So they're averaging just around 79 points a game. Without a shadow of a doubt, this Sycamores team is deadly from every little tiny inch, every centimeter on that basketball floor from the three-point line, driving in. Their defense, still top 5. They're at number 5. But the offense is what's really going to work for them. And Coach Schertz mentioned how in the interviews today, they are one of the best, not just in the conference, but one of the best teams in the country when it comes to half-court offense. What do you think about that, Joe?
You can see it. You know what I mean? It's one of those things where you look on the court and it's really, really easy to agree with because you see the way that all these players play together. You can see how fluid their offense is and how much each player wants to not only, give the other person the ball, but what ability to take their own shot, take and make their own shot, which is huge when it comes to Valley play. It's just being able to take and make your own shot, having confidence in that. And so, again, 1 through 5 can make a pass, 1 through 5 can shoot, 1 through 5 can, defend even at a high level in certain scenarios. So again, I mean, I'm not really mad at you. The only thing that is concerning for me, Indiana State. I believe Indiana State is one of the best teams to lock down a primary ball handler. So, if you have a Bowen Bourne in front of us, if you have a, what's his name? DeVries? DeVries
from Drake.
Drake, you have, what's his name? Shepard from Belmont? Ben Shepard, I believe.
Yes.
You have one of those guys who average, 17, 18, 19 points per game. Cameron Henry, you're going to have to see him. You're going to have to see Kavazier McCullough. You're going to have to see them. You're going to have to, face the, quick hands of Cooper Neese. You're going to have to face all these guys that are going to be able to, really, really give you some problems, who have all similar defensive intensities, but different forms of defense. That's just going to be hard because you can't really get too comfortable. Yeah. Shoot, somebody sits down and you might see Xavier Bledson, who's going to, put his body on you. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
So
he's not scared of contact.
Exactly. So it's just one of those things where it's just a lot of these primary ball handlers have really problems. And if you just go through Indiana State, there's been a multitude of victims of, players, primary ball handlers who can really, really score that's just been locked up, held to, some of the worst shooting performances of their college career.
Yes.
So, but here's the weakness, though. Indiana State really does struggle in terms of, when there's 2 to 3 guys who all play really, really connected and plays almost a version of their form of basketball, but it's just not one guy who's really scoring. Because Indiana State, you can have, there's 3, 4, 5 people who I can see score like 20 points in a conference game, but when they face a person like a team like that is able to, have 2, 3, 4 guys who are able to really, really put it on you, like it just sometimes gets a little bit tough because like the defensive communication, you have one defensive communication lapse with the defense, and it's just like, somebody hits a three, corner three. I've seen that throughout this entire year where Indiana State goes against teams that are really, really well coached and really, really good at not only defense, but offense as well, where it's just not one guy who's able to score. It's just a multitude of guys who are, going to be an offensive threat. So, that's the one thing that I see a lot in Indiana State that scares me. It just, whenever I see that, it just doesn't turn out good for Indiana State. But hopefully, Indiana State proves me wrong. But I'm agreeing with you, man.
Oh, I 100% agree with you, Joe. I mean, just this whole team, like you just mentioned, I feel like any man from this Sycamore squad can just go crazy, whether they're a starting 5, whether they're off the bench. I mean, if your number's called, you best be ready because these games matter the most.
They really do.
I mean, if you lose one more game, your season's done.
It's over.
And it really, raises the question, how will you be remembered? How will your legacy be remembered? I'm throwing that out there.
Yeah.
Because obviously, if any of them are listening right now, got to go out there, play like it's your last.
A lot of them are seniors, too.
For some of them, it is their last. I mean, we just had senior day on Sunday. Shout out to the seniors, Cooper Neese, Corvazge McCulley, Cam Henry, Trenton Gibson, Cade McKnight, Calix Stevens. I mean, a lot of these guys, this might be the last time they ever dress for a basketball game on any professional level.
Man.
So it makes you wonder, man, how will you be remembered?
Exactly.
You want to go out a winner? Prove it.
Do you want to be remembered as a team that was just, maybe just a tough out? Or do you want to be a team that teams just dang want to face?
You don't want to be known as a fluke.
Exactly.
And that's one thing I think this team will never be known as because this team means business. This team proves why day in, day out, whether it's game day, whether it's practice day, whether they're in the locker room just watching film. This team is going to show you why they belong and why they're one of the best teams in the Valley.
Exactly, man. I have to agree. Could not agree more.
And then, just going back into things like with Indiana State before we get on into Belmont, I mean, Coach Schertz, he says that the whole team, Evansville, they respect. They really respect Evansville. I know how Evansville is. I mean, a 5-win season definitely really hurts that how they're trying to play this season. But, I mean, you could throw that first game out the window. It's really, back off going back to this month's game where they improved. I mean, they shut down Indiana State to an extent. I mean, 28-point deficit to an 18-point deficit. There's improvement there.
Yeah.
And, shout out Coach Ragland. Just seeing him in the interviews today, he definitely has high hopes for his guys. And as he should be. I mean, he doesn't want to just come out here and be like, oh, man, 5 wins. I guess we're just going to travel and come right back. I mean, what's the point of even dropping ourselves off at the hotel? No one's going to say that. No one would ever think to imagine such a thing.
I don't even think players think that. You know what I mean? I think, again, as depressing as a 5-win season is, when it comes to conference play, like we said in the beginning of the broadcast, 0-0. And one thing that Indiana State has been, proven to do, and with a lot of Missouri Valley Conference teams in general, is just each one of them is very beatable. You know what I mean? As long as you, again, it's easier said than done, but, as long as you, look at their tendencies and make sure that they, cut off their offense or try to find a weakness in their defense as you do, A through Z things, you're pretty good. You have a pretty good chance of winning. You know what I mean? So, again, all it takes is for Indiana State to somehow to have this crazy, shooting slump like they had in the middle of the season.
And that matters a lot.
And it's over. You know what I mean?
Yeah. What team are we going to get first round? Are we going to get the team we've seen the last 2 days? Are we going to see the team that won all those games in a row?
Yeah.
Are we going to see the team that lost 5 in a row? What exactly are we going to see from the Sycamore team?
And that's what's scary. That's what's terrifying. We
don't know which one until tip-off.
You do not know. And that's what's scary about all these high-powered offenses. Everybody just might have the hot hand throughout the tournament, and maybe nobody does. and it's just over. But again, I do think that this is a game that Indiana State is comfortable with. This is a game that Indiana State would is really, really happy to have. Again, Evansville is a team that, like you said, we beat them pretty convincingly twice.
Yeah.
Bottom of the
They know each
Missouri
other
Valley
very
Conference.
well.
They know each other very, very well. So, but still, I do think this is going to be a game where Indiana State can, just get out of this round, just so we can get into the really, really big show in the conference.
And going back to Evansville, focusing on them really quick. Coach Ragland, he has very high praise for this Sycamores team. He says ISU has a very lot to prove. And if they want to get out of here with the victory and shock Indiana State, they have to defend the three-point line. Everyone is motivated in their own way. And the one thing that really resonated with me when he said this, all of those Purple Aces players, they're going to be playing for, number one, pride, and number two, play for the people who have done it before you. That is a great message for sure. And just, very heads up, just chin up kind of, remark from a guy who just hasn't had the best of seasons with his Evansville team. And hopefully, I'm not going to say hopefully because I want to see Indiana State win, but just being part of media, that is exactly a great response to a team that hasn't had, the most success.
Exactly. I think, that's a response that you want to have. I think that's, if you're a player, that's a response that I hope my coach would have to the situation. Just, heads up, again, just making sure that you're playing for something. You're not playing for nothing. This isn't just like we're not an easy out. We don't have to be that team. We are who we say we are. And I really do like that quote from him.
Absolutely. Joe, we're going to take a quick 1-minute break. And when we come back, we will preview the remaining 3 games happening in the first round. And please, guys, I'm going to remind you as much as I can, not just here, but also at the very end of this one, Indiana State, the number 5 seed, taking on Evansville, number 12 seed, 2:30 p.m. Central. That's 3:30 p.m. Eastern Time. Joseph Moore and I will be there live at the Enterprise Center to give you the best live Sycamores game coverage you could ever ask for. But when we come back, we're going to look at UNI, Illinois State, Murray State, Valpo, and Missouri State, UIC. We'll be right back as you're listening to Sports Extra.
Some statistics are surprising, some are unbelievable, and some are simply unacceptable. Right now, nearly 30% of U.S. students aren't finishing high school.
Text message, or even a wake-up call to a student at risk of dropping out. Go to boostup.org and provide the boost that's needed to make it to graduation. A message from the U.S. Army and the Ad Council.
Kobe Clark here, back with my man Joseph the Lawn Moore, as we are just discussing some Missouri Valley Conference first round tournament preview as we just recapped and rounded out Indiana State and Evansville. But first things first, man, let's talk about the University of Northern Iowa taking on Illinois State. Very funny if you're an Indiana State fan. If you remember, Illinois State and Indiana State played first round last year in the 8 and 9 seeds. Did not end the way for Indiana State that it wanted to, but nevertheless, it's a new year, it's a new team, and it's not just going to say for the Sycamores. It's also for all of these guys right here, right now, for the Redbirds and for the Panthers. First off, Joe, let me ask you this: with UNI and Illinois State, two teams who have played pretty well against each other this year, what exactly are you expecting to come away with this matchup, and who do you think will match up against Bradley day 2?
Oh, wait. I believe this one is going to be pretty interesting, but obviously you have the 8 and 9 matchup close and record-wise.
No matter what. Every conference tournament has that.
Exactly, and that's something that you really, really want to look forward to. But I do believe that this UNI squad is nice. They're well coached. They have pretty much everything you would want from just a basketball team in a very average sense. And so I think just Illinois State is just, each time that Indiana State is matched up with Illinois State, there's just been some type of really, I don't know. There's just been something that just been a little bit off-putting.
I feel like Illinois State is 1 year away.
Exactly. They're 1 year away. There's just there's a piece, like just a hole. Just a hole, it feels like, that's just missing and stuff. Because they have some guys like, you have Darius Buford. You have, I think it's named Seneca Knight. And then you have Kendall Lewis rounding out the middle. It's just, you have some guys that are really, really nice, being able to score the ball, or do, and excel at one other thing on the court. It just feels like there's just something that's not meshing really well. But I do think this UNI squad, they just don't have like as talented as a roster as some of the other teams in the Missouri Valley Conference, but I do think they have the ability to move on and then face Bradley.
Yeah, I mean, looking at the Panthers, just their offensive total, they're 6 on the season, with defense being 1 higher than Illinois State. They're at 6. Illinois State's defense, 7th ranked. Offensively, they are ranked at number 9. So, I mean, very, very even matchups between these two.
It's close.
It's just, without a doubt, it's going to be probably low scoring. I mean, that's what when you look at last year's Indiana State, Illinois State, that was a low-scoring game as well for an 8-9 seed. But not just to base it off last year. I mean, just really, if you have a very mid offense and the defense is around there, then the defense will probably show up just a little bit more than the offensive output would. So, I mean, I'm going to have to say the University of Northern Iowa will advance. But that's not to go without mentioning, I mean, just a tough matchup with Bradley coming up, because Bradley and Drake, I didn't expect, personally, Drake to not be the 1 seed. I figured they would have been number 1. They would have been sitting pretty up top, but it was actually Bradley who shocked them and got that win. So, I mean, congratulations to them. All 4 teams in the top 4 should be very proud of the way they played this year.
Proud. I mean, this is a tough conference, honestly.
It is.
It really is.
It very much is, Joe. I think UNI and Illinois State, whether you want to look at it like this or not, it's going to be a fun one. It's going to be a good one. And I think back and forth battle. I think the defense will shine out just a little bit more, though.
I agree. Yeah, I think it's just going to edge out. And I just think, like, really it's about, teams that I feel like, especially when it comes to, really tournament play. Like, for me at least, I think when it's as close as it is, I think just who has the better culture, who has the better, like, kind of like, very well coaching, just, have that just kind of like, okay, we kind of been here before. We know what winning basketball is. Let's just get it done. You know what I mean? And I just really see that in the Panthers and UNI.
And it also doesn't help if you're Illinois State, as you lead the conference in turnovers at 14 and a half.
That's something you can't do in the tournament play.
No, you cannot.
Do that.
Hey, it's 0-0. I'm gonna have to go ahead and say UNI, though. I think it'll be a low-scoring game. I'm seeing it's going to be like in the 50s or maybe even reach the 60s, depending on how late game it is free throw-wise. But I think UNI will advance.
Yeah, for sure.
We already talked about Indiana State and Evansville. Don't need to mention that. Go Sycamores. The Murray State Racers and Valparaiso, the 7-10 seed. And, this one goes without saying. I was talking a little bit earlier today about Murray State. And this team, very weird, because we expected them to come into the conference and, kind of outshine in different ways. But they have had a very tough time, which I think just goes to show that this Valley Conference is one of the most challenging.
Thank you. I'm just saying, like, y'all think y'all can come up in the Missouri Valley Conference and dog us? Nah. But
no.
I agree. Murray State is having kind of a transition year, to be fair. Just very much of a transition year. But still, it's just kind of proves that Missouri Valley Conference is where it's at.
And it doesn't help when the number 5 offense, number 10 defense, definitely not helping you out with any favors in this universe.
No, sir. Defense is going to lose you some games.
Yeah. But Valparaiso, they're just also a little, up and down. Number 7 on offense, number 11 on defense. So both teams struggling on the defensive end. It's going to be tough. I don't think this one will be much defense. This one will be a heavy offensive outing. But, man, this one is just very difficult to look at. Because that 7-10 seed, I could easily see Valpo winning against Murray State.
Exactly.
I can.
Thank you.
But I think Murray State, with the coaching staff they have, the experience, although first year in the conference, like I said, I think that'll carry over to now, because this is their first time heading to St. Louis to take on in the Arch Madness tournament. And I think they're going to probably shine out. I wouldn't be surprised if Murray State lost first round, or I wouldn't be surprised if they made it to day 3.
Yeah.
That's how, weird of a team they have been this season.
Yeah, I would have to agree. And like both of these teams really not the best in like, shutting down the opponent's offense. And I just kind of have to, give it to like the person that has the most offensive firepower in this one, for me personally, and it just happens to be the one that has like a decent amount of ball culture as well.
Yep.
Who really, even Indiana State, I believe Murray State, when we faced them at their own home crib, we lost. So I would have to give it to Murray State. Just better offense in general, and like Rob Perry is a really, really good hooper. They have really, really good energy guys like DJ Burns. I have to give it to Murray State on this one. Not to discredit Valpo, because Valpo is more familiar with this environment than Murray State, which may prove to be the thing that gets them past them. But still, I would have to give it to Murray State on this one. I just think they got it like that.
No, absolutely, and it's gonna be tough. Like I said, Murray State first year, but like I said, Valparaiso, I would not be surprised at all if they did come out of here and just completely just ran out a different offense and just really threw off Murray State.
100%.
Both teams, very winnable matchups here. But like I said, I'm going to take the Racers in this one against Valpo. And then heading into the last game of the opening round of the Arch Madness Tournament, brought to you by State Farm. I have to put that in there. Number 6, Missouri State. Number 11, UIC. One team that Indiana State just lost to over the weekend on Sunday, just yesterday. Man, it doesn't even feel like 24 hours. It's been a very long weekend for me. I think the Bears just really caught Indiana State off guard, but without mentioning, Indiana State as well didn't play the best basketball. Very low scoring affair in the 60s. I believe the final score was 66-62. But, Missouri State, I think, even though it says number 6 seed, they took the best. They got the best of the 5 seed. They ran up the score a little bit on those top 4 seeds as well. UIC, unfortunately, I don't think they're going to have a whole lot here. I think this one will be decided by halftime, probably.
Yeah.
I know, man.
Okay. Just so I can comfortably make this pick, I'm gonna go backtrack a little bit say that I want to take Valparaiso.
Are you now?
I'm taking Valparaiso just because I don't want to have all the upper seeds go through. Like, this is tourney play. That ain't gonna happen. So I'm gonna say Valparaiso for the last one. I'm gonna say that type of familiarity with the environment is gonna put them over the top, and I'm gonna go on and say that I believe that this is gonna be Missouri State's game, and just because Missouri State's defense is suffocating. It shows, and exactly,
man, oh man, is a show.
Exactly, I'm just saying, if all it takes is Missouri State to have one player get a little bit hot, you know what I mean? Just get a little bit hot, and then just see, hopefully that just a domino effects to the rest of the players. But all it takes is just to keep that suffocating defense that they have, and then just continue that for the rest of the game, and then just find some type of offense against, UIC, which isn't like, a dominant defensive presence. So I'm going to have to give it to Missouri State. I just think that defense is, and their experience winning against tougher opponents, I just got to give it to Missouri State.
They definitely pride themselves on defense.
Yeah,
because the other half of the court is not showing well.
Exactly.
Very difficult offensive year for the Bears. Averaging around 66 points a game. That's just, they barely edged out Evansville.
Barely high bear pun.
You're so good.
Okay,
but didn't even think about that. But barely. In the 11th overall offense in the conference.
Yeah.
That one does not play well.
Yeah.
But the defense picks up. You're number 3. I think defense, obviously, without mentioning, defense wins championships.
Yeah.
And if they want to prove that ever so slightly even more, they're going to have to come out of here and run the table a little bit against a UIC team that is struggling as well. Very average offense, number 8 seed. Their defense, number 9. So not really one oversteps the other.
Yeah. There hasn't been like any, whenever we face UIC, it doesn't feel like there's any like one player to really like, you know, kind of be like, oh man, like at least, you know, he could get it going or whatever. You know, I mean, Jalen Jackson for UIC is pretty solid.
Oh yeah.
You know, he's pretty solid. He's a pretty decent scorer, but you know, like the amount of help that he has is kind of, you know, up and down sometimes. And you know, sometimes Christian Jones shows up. Again, it just none that's really like putting me over the top to be like, maybe they can, you know, step out and actually, you know,
no, I get that, man.
Really, compete against a defense against Missouri State. But again, we'll see.
I think it goes without mentioning. I was just very impressed with the way Missouri State played against Indiana State on Sunday. And I mean, if you held the number one offense to that low scoring output based off just the defense, I think you're gonna have to give this team that ride, because the defense is gonna show out, and that is what's gonna get them through this tournament. And offensively, it will come. Just work on your game a little bit.
Exactly. Keep shooting that J. And then you can get it done in the St. Louis.
Are you taking the Missouri State as well?
For sure.
I get that. So for me, first round recap: UNI, Illinois State. I'm taking UNI. Indiana State, Evansville, taking the Sycamores. Murray State, Valpo. Murray State. Missouri State, UIC, Missouri State. The only thing different about that for Joseph,
give me Valpo.
He's taking Valpo. I understand.
I've ran with Valpo.
I'm so basic and boring. I didn't take any.
That's what I'm saying. Like I can't do that to myself. I can't do that. But yeah, I mean, I'm gonna keep it a buck though. If I were a betting man, I would bet on UIC. I would bet on UIC because I'm just saying, like, you know, when in terms of like, you know, flame, you know, microwave type of scoring and stuff, UIC sometimes has that.
Yeah.
So, you know, and that you really just need one game, and I'm sure the over-under is probably crazy in, you know, the betting favor, so I'll bet on UIC. But still, you know, bet responsibly. I'm just saying, you know, UIC if I really would have picked. But, you know, again, that for me, again, it goes UNI, Indiana State, Valparaiso, and Missouri State.
Yeah, I think UIC's offense, I mean, it can definitely go without saying. They can torch up a defense, but I think defenses can also flame them out.
Exactly.
You even get my pun. Did you not even understand my puns? The Flames, offense torch, their defense.
Is that their like mascot or something?
The Flames. That's their name.
That's their name?
Yes.
I did not know that. Why did I not know that? But it doesn't like
I don't know.
Okay, but like their colors ain't like flame. I don't think the colors and I'm be like flames or like.
I mean, why would Chicago? I mean, they're known for
not flames. It's called.
Well, I mean, they have. Why can't I think of the name? They have that one TV show, Chicago Med, Chicago Fire.
Okay, so.
Anyway, okay. We are not pop cultured over here. That's more of a shut-ins thing, I guess.
For sure.
Oh man. To recap the last to just round out, I guess you can say, the last 10 minutes of Sports Extra, I think we just, without a saying, I want to go through these top four teams and really just give praise to them. We'll go from 4 to 1. I think number 4, Belmont. Just definitely one team that can shock a lot of people. Super well balanced. The offense and the defense, it's there 100%. When I was talking with the head coach of Belmont, Coach Casey Alexander, interviewing him, I mean, this team, they carry so much than just their team. I mean, they just carry there's just so much more than a basketball team when it comes to this. And either way you want to look at it, whether it's at Indiana State, whether it's Evansville, no matter which team, you could be Bradley, Drake, or Southern Illinois, no matter which team comes to you on day 2 on Friday, you got to be prepared for both. And that can definitely be a difficult task for a lot of coaching staffs, because you might, you're sending this half, maybe to focus on Indiana State, but this half's focusing on Evansville. And then you come together at the end of the day, figure out who's going to win. And as soon as that final buzzer sounds, you are immediately going to the drawing board, and you're probably not sleeping much. I wouldn't expect a lot of sleep this whole trip.
Exactly. It's especially in coaching staff. I couldn't imagine being a coach in a tournament since. It's just kind of like sometimes
the pressure's there, man.
Yeah, sometimes it's like as much game planning and as much like 4D chess as coaches want to play with each other. Like ultimately it's just kind of roll the ball out and then whoever wins, gets the ball and who wins. Like, you know what I mean? It's just kind of it's tough in that sense. And as much that's what I really really hang my hat on in terms of like my coaching philosophy. If I were to be a coach, or what I value in coaches is just their mindset and mentality. And I think that carries over a lot more than the X's and O's, because you can give a robot a fantastic they can put out a fantastic, plan and like, just X and O scenarios for each team, be like, statistically speaking, going to like super advanced analytics and stuff. Ultimately, it's really about who wants it more. And it's really about that spirit and that, soul and finesse that comes with the game of basketball. And that's why I really, really value a coach's mentality. Not over, but significantly in terms of how well of a coach they are. But again, that's a good thing with Indiana State, because Josh, I think he has that mentality.
Even though Belmont is ranked number 8 in the conference on the defensive end, it didn't show on last week when they played the Sycamores. I mean, a number 2 offense just right behind Indiana State. Indiana State really wants this one. They want to go back and play Belmont. They know they can beat this team, and I fully am on the back of that one. I really, really am excited to see if Evansville does not defeat Indiana State on that day 2 matchup.
Yeah.
So, but Belmont, without a doubt, give them credit. They deserve to be here. They fought through a lot of adversity. And, I mean, they were just like in that same, little stretch with Indiana State. It was, them, it was Southern Illinois, it was Missouri State, and Indiana State just fighting for that top 4 that day 1 bye. But, hey, if you ask Coach Schertz, he'd rather play day 1 than play day 2.
Yeah. And shout out Belmont. I mean, like, they really showed up in that game. Indiana State is so funny. It's just like, if you look at like the first half and the second half, two completely different games from both sides, both teams.
Yeah.
One half, like I believe it was the first half, Indiana State was just on and popping, and then the second half, Indiana State really really struggled to score, and it was just the vice versa in terms of basketball for Belmont. But again, shout out to, I forget who made, because Belmont won by free throws. I forget the player who hit those free throws. I don't think it was
I see him in my head.
I see him in my head. Maybe it's Ben Shepherd. Is it Ben Shepherd? I don't think it was. Who was it? I forget. Maybe it's Jacoby.
It was Julian Larry who fouled him with less than 2 seconds.
Totally forget. But shout out to him. Some of the biggest free throws that he's going to hit in his collegiate career. And shout out for you for making them.
That pretty much clinched them that bottom.
Yeah, those free throws alone. And that's what's crazy about this game. But yeah, again, just fantastic showing from Belmont. And, what do you think about Southern Illinois?
That's exactly what I was going to get into next. The Salukis. I don't know what it is, man. Missouri State, Southern Illinois, very not great offenses, but amazing defenses. Maybe Indiana State has to take note and not be as good on the offensive end and be better on the defensive end, because I guess that would just certify you a pretty good run in the tournament. But Southern Illinois, I think they're just one good team. I wouldn't be surprised if they run it. I think Southern Illinois can beat Drake. I think Southern Illinois can beat Bradley. Southern Illinois has proven to beat Indiana State. So I'm not going to say they're my pick just yet, because Bradley really shocked a lot of people. I didn't expect in the last month of basketball Bradley to be the number 1 seed. And I feel like, they were just neck and neck with Drake that whole time.
It felt like
you win a game, I win a game. Exactly. Oh, you're going to go on a win streak? I'm going to do the same thing. Bradley, give them credit. But going back to Southern Illinois, definitely one team you don't want to match up with, because that defense, you talk about the Bears. The Salukis are just more, probably even better and more intense on the defensive end, number 2 in the conference. So give them all the credit in the world. I think Southern Illinois deserves to be here, and I would not be surprised, like I said, if they were to come out of here as the champs, because a lot of early polls as well saw that a little bit.
They're definitely a dark horse for sure. Again, defense is really the biggest thing, especially in like a conference where the 3-point line is so sacred to so many teams. Like, defense is really going to be the death of a lot of teams. It's going to be the poison pill. And when it comes to defense, this is what the Salukis bring. They bring that defense. They bring that intensity. And you have such good size and defensive awareness from like every position, it feels like, on the court. Really really even switchable. I've been sometimes you switch a big man with a guard on for the Salukis, and the guard wins. It's insane. It really is crazy. And so, when it comes to Salukis, Really, really good season from them. Really, really textbook ball play. Kind of shows that defenses, even in a conference where offenses kind of gets praised a lot, defense really is what, that grit and grind really wins games. It wins a lot.
I mean, the top defenses in the conference are Bradley, Southern Illinois, Missouri State, and Drake. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, with the only exception of Belmont being down there at 8,
yep,
defense is what's going to get them through this. Mm-hmm. And I give credit to Southern Illinois, and we'll see how it all plays out. But the number 2 team, a lot of people had them winning the conference in the preseason polls, and we've seen it many times in the last couple of years. This Drake team is special.
Very nice.
Very special. I remember when they came here back in November, or was it October? One time, I don't know. I can't remember. I don't even know how old I am. I forget that.
Yeah, I don't know what's happening anymore, personally.
Sometimes I try to stay away from it all. But when Drake came here, that was really the first time where every fan in attendance was like, whoa, we have a chance here?
Are we legit?
Are we for real? Mm-hmm. And I think they went on to prove that a little bit.
For sure.
The unfortunate, I guess you could say fortunate, it's a high and a low, because you don't want to lose that way on the road against this Drake team and having that lead. I mean, you fought back at halftime, and you're just trying to get back in it, and then you take that lead finally back. Yes, we did it. 2 seconds, 3 seconds remaining, and then a 3-point shot to take the lead and crush your dreams to continue that 4-game losing streak into a 5-game losing streak. But that was a wake-up call for Shirts and these Sycamores. It got them it got the train rolling.
I mean, it was like the 4th wake-up call in a row, going on to a 5th. It was a lot of wake-up calls. It was a lot of wake-up calls. Definitely a lot of alarms that Indiana State slept through in the middle of the season.
Shout out Hannah. She did that when we went to the gym.
Yeah. Shout out to her. But, Drake is really legit. I mean, they got some shooters, and not to even mention that they have, what I believe to be the best player in the conference is Tucker DeVries. And, I believe he's the coach's son, right? Am I mistaken? I believe he's the coach's son. But yeah, yeah, Tucker, he just, he's absolute bucket, dangerous, utilizes his size, agility, and just awareness in general of the game, and just such a fantastic offensive showcase night in and night out. And even on the defensive side, he's 6'7", he's going to be able to.
And Roman Penn, one man. That was a dog, 32 points in the first meeting this year against ISU.
Dog. And he's probably one of those guys that if he didn't have a guy like Tucker in front of him, that he would probably have that average that same amount, like 18, 19 points. He's nice. He's really, really nice. Really, really shifty, really, really good at, getting to the cup and, making it over some tough, contests. He's really, really nice. So, again, you have those two guys and a well-coached scheme, a very, very familiar team with each other's tendencies, the conference in general. You have the culture. You have the school backing you. You have a name like Drake, which is really, really dope name, and you have a bulldog as your mascot. I mean, you have the formula for a really, really good basketball team. It's one of those. It's one of those.
Bulldog
things.
Is so basic though.
It's basic, but it's good though. There's a reason why so many schools
and the Tigers, another basic name.
That's true. That is true. But again, it's just one of those formulas that is kind of proven, and Drake has been proven it the entire year. Of course, they fell short last second against Bradley and stuff. But
that might be their wake-up call.
That might be That might be a thing where it's we're not. You know what I mean? We're not untouchable.
What's that number 2 next to our name?
Hold up now. Let's get for real. Let's sit up on our chair a little bit.
You thought I was finished?
Yeah. So it's it's going to be a really good wake up call for Drake, and I think they're going to have that kind of hunger to be okay, regular season to end off on the sweetest of notes. Let's, kind of get after it. Definitely puts a bit more of a chip on their shoulder.
Yep.
And I think Drake with a chip on their shoulder is a very, very dangerous team.
You got that right, Joe.
Very dangerous.
Last team here before we get on out of here, Bradley. I mean, it's fitting for the number 1 team in the Missouri Valley Conference. Brings along the number 1 ranked defense in the Valley. Number 4 offense. Bradley, I will say I'm more shocked that they're 1. Not more shocked they beat Drake, but just more shocked they beat Drake for the 1. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, I kind of saw – I didn't really see it coming because obviously it's a game where either way it goes, it's just kind of like, yeah, I can see that happening. But, you know, when you have, like, the defense of Bradley, it's just, you know what I mean? Like, you can't really bet against them. You know what I mean?
Cannot.
You really cannot bet against them. So it's a bit surprising, but, you know, understandable that they're in the position that they have. And, again, just Bradley is just really well coached. I think Bradley should be the blueprint for Indiana State in the future. I think the Bradley team is a team where it's just not a whole lot of guys who are, there's not one central guy. And I think that's the difference between all the top 5 teams in the Missouri Valley Conference is there's not really a central guy. Of course, you have, Mast, who's averaging 14 points per game. But still, like, you have, 4 or 5 guys that are averaging, if you round up 9 plus, points per game and stuff. And really that just comes from good basketball, really good basketball between them, being able to share the ball and just trusting that, hang their hat on the defensive side of the ball and then trusting the scheme and just whoever has the hot end, whoever has the shot, whoever's open, whoever, gets the best look on offensive possession takes that shot.
Yeah.
And, you have guys who can make it. And I think that's really the recipe that Indiana State needs to follow. And then eventually we'll get to, the range where we can get like a guy that, comes in the freshman year and just kills it.
Oh, yeah.
But, I think this is just like the perfect blueprint for any Missouri Valley Conference team. And really, I think this shows how good defense is in a league that just focus on, 3-point shot.
And the defense, steals being led on that team by Malavi Leons. The block shots going over Bradley, Darius Hannah. So, Bradley's going to be a scary team for a lot of people. But especially for Indiana State, they're going to have to run through them no matter what if they want to make it to the championship game. They're going to have to match up with them if they defeat Evansville, if they defeat Belmont, and if they defeat Bradley, they make it to the championship game.
Yeah.
We'll see how it plays out.
It's going to be interesting. It's going to be much-watched television.
Everyone, please remember this. The State Farm Missouri Valley Conference men's basketball tournament is held in St. Louis, Missouri. It starts this Thursday, March 2nd, all the way to the championship game on March 5th at the Enterprise Center in downtown St. Louis. Arch Madness brought to you by State Farm. Joseph, you and I, we're on our way. Just a few more days, and we're heading over to St. Louis.
Ants in my pants, Coby. I cannot wait.
Joseph Moore and I will be giving you every live game coverage of Indiana State basketball from the Enterprise Center in the Arch Madness tournament. So please, if you have nothing else to do, and I know if you can't make it, you want to tune in. It's the best place to do it. So WZIS. Pre-game show will probably start about 15, 20 minutes early. That way we can just dissect and breathe a little bit and take it all in. Just a lot of fun, a great trip coming our way. And I hope it's a great trip for these Sycamores.
For sure.
Remember, Game 2, ISU, Evansville. Number 5, number 12, 2:30 p.m. Central Time, 3:30 p.m. Eastern Time. Stay up to date on our social media, including our Twitter at WZIS-FM for every update regarding Missouri Valley Conference Tournament. And, of course, your Indiana State Sycamores. Joseph Moore,
let's go.
You got any more last words before we get on out of here and enjoy our Monday night?
Go ISU.
Go ISU. Didn't talk about Pacers, Colts, anything else.
Not much to talk about.
we can't end an episode without saying it. You gotta say it.
Go Pacers.
Go Pacers.
Hey, I just say.
Of course, for Joseph the Lawnmower, I have been the Coby Clark. Take care, everyone. We will see you all next time in St. Louis on Thursday for Indiana State and Evansville. This has been your favorite sports talk show, Sports Extra.